Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday and it is 5:30, and that means that it is time for a moment of presence. I am Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching, and I am very, very glad to see you here today, have you here today, and be with you today. So that's the most important part. And I'm glad that you're giving yourself that gift of presence because it's important. It's important to take the time to just bring yourself into the moment. And that's one of the things that we don't do a lot. So, one thing I want to remind everybody is please like, subscribe, share the group, please. We are at 90 members, and I'm really looking forward to being over 100. So I know that that's going to be soon. And I want to take a moment and I want you to share where you're from. If you're here, share in the comments where you're from. Let me know that you're here, because if you don't make a comment, then I have no idea that you're here, and I can't say thank you. I can't talk to you in the group afterwards about maybe the things that we were talking about today. So I just wanted to make sure that we can do that. You can also put questions, and I can take some time at the end and answer some questions. So feel free. Mississippi, Connecticut. Awesome. Hi. If you put your name, then I'll actually be able to attach who you are to the comment. So I forgot to say that, I guess. But I'm glad you're here. So I am, as I said, Michelle. If you're new to me, I am a life coach. And what I really do is help people manage, handle, get a hold of their fears that are holding them back from living the life that they want to live. Really helping them move forward with goals, with things that they want to do in life. And, you know, it's important to be reminded about that fear, right? The fear, the voices that are in our head that talk to us about what we can and cannot do and try to convince us that the fear is a reason to not move forward, when in reality, it's just letting us know that it's uncomfortable. And when we move through the fear, that's when we can get the goals that we want. We can get the accomplishments. We can get the relationships. We can be who we are here to be. So that's my passion. That's what I absolutely love to do, is to walk people through that process. So we are going to be talking today about a, challenging, sensitive topic. And I want to say first and foremost, before we do our moment of presence, I want to say first and foremost that this is not talking about domestic abuse. This is not talking about physical harm. This is talking about toxic, unhealthy relationships, partnerships. All right, I want to make that distinction. If you feel you're in a domestic abuse relationship, if you're being bullied at work, if you are in fear that something is going to happen, then you need to reach out. You need to get the help that you need. And we have a number that is going to go across the screen, the domestic abuse hotline. And I want to really make sure that we understand the difference. We're talking about unhealthy relationships today. Okay. So let's move into my favorite portion, which is breathing, which is always a good thing. So we are going to take a couple moments for ourselves. So put your cell phone on do not disturb, get comfortable, because that's why we're here, is to bring ourselves into the moment. It's Wednesday. It's the day after Valentine's Day. A lot of stuff going on yesterday. But here we're going to be still, and we're just going to be in the moment together. Okay. All right. So if it's safe, You can close your eyes, but if it isn't and you're driving or something, then keep your eyes open. You can still breathe with us. All right. So big deep breath in, out through your mouth. I want you to imagine close your eyes, a blue sky on a beautiful spring or summer day. And I want you to, in this vision of yours, in this moment, I want you to be the blue sky. Now think about today and everything that you're feeling right now. And I want you to imagine all of these feelings, emotions, thoughts. Those are the clouds. And I want you to take a deep breath in, bring all of that in from today, maybe even the week or midweek. Hold it. And then exhale. And in this next breath, as you exhale, I want you to notice the clouds. I want you to notice them just floating by. And with your exhale, you're almost sending them away, blowing them into, out of the picture of your mind. Okay, so big deep breath in. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Push the clouds away. Now, you're the sky. Be the blue sky. I want you to take a deep breath in. I want you to hold it. And I want you to do another big deep exhale through your mouth. And just watch the clouds drift. Drift away with your crazy day, your feelings, your emotions, the uncomfortableness. Just big exhale. A lot of times I find, you can open your eyes if you want. That was very good. I find a lot of people will say, oh, I can't meditate. I can't meditate. My mind is all filled with thoughts. I can't do it. I have a monkey mind. Yeah, well, I'm the queen of monkey mind. And this visualization helped me so much because it's not about forcing the thoughts that are coming up. It's about not noticing them. Less and less notice. You're just the observer. You're just watching them pass by. That's it. Just let them pass. No attention. And then they get less and less. And then your blue sky is more of a clear blue sky. So if you've been trying to meditate, try that visualization. Breathe a couple times before you start the meditation. Get into being the blue sky before you get started. So that's Michelle's tip for the day on meditation. All right. So again, we are talking about partnerships, any kind of partnerships, as a matter of fact, where you feel you are stuck, where you feel like you're a prisoner in some way. Like one person explained it to me, a client said, yeah, I just feel like I'm in a cage. So we're talking about these bad, unhealthy, toxic relationships, not abusive. Okay. This can be work. It can be your boss. It can be a bully coworker. It can be your children bullying you, pushing you around. It can be your partner, your spouse, the person that you love. It can be a parent. And a lot of us are dealing with that because we have parents now that are dealing with their own health issues. And when dementia comes in to play and maybe some Alzheimer's, it can be very uncomfortable, and it can be verbally abusive. It can be those types of things. Friends, that's another category, another type of relationship where you can be feeling like you're being pushed around, or you're not being heard, or you're being mistreated in some way. So if you're feeling smothered, if you feel like you want to break free, if you feel alone, lost, like you just want to hide away, you can't wait for this chapter of the book to be over and into a new chapter of your own book. And let's face it, if your friends are rolling their eyes because they're tired of the same stories over and over and over again, something's got to change. So that's what we're here to talk about. Okay? So, a relationship, a partnership is, we like to say partnership versus a relationship. And there can be two schools of thought on that, right? Because relation is a relation. How are we relating to each other? A partnership means two people are trying to build something together. At least that's how I would interpret it. And everybody's going to have their different interpretations. But it's something separate from you. It's not what identifies you. You don't have to be obligated to stay in any relationship, partnership, anything where you're not feeling good or you're not feeling your best or you're not able to be your best. It's something that two people have to decide, sometimes on a daily basis, that they want to be a part of that. The choice is made every day. So if you're waking up in the morning and you're dreading work, if you're consistently late and you just hate being there, you're looking at your watch every 5 minutes hoping the day is going to be over, you're having a really bad relationship or partnership with your career, with your job. And you might want to think about a change, because who wants to live their life waking up in dread every day? That's not fun. Let me check the comments. I haven't looked at the comments. So, take a look at that. Yes, family members. And here's the thing, when it gets to dementia, when it gets to a family member that's sick, when a family member doesn't feel good and you're the caregiver, oh my goodness, that brings in a whole other layer of, because now we have some guilt because we feel like we have to be there. We have to take care of them. It doesn't mean that you have to allow the bad behavior, right? If they're in pain and you know it's not them, this isn't how they normally act, make a list of all of the things that you're grateful for them, all of the things that you love about them. Remind yourself who they really are. When illness is not pulling them down and making them say things or feel crappy, excuse my language, and treat other people that way. Because when we don't feel good, we're in a lot of pain. Yeah, we can lash out. And who do we lash out at the most? Anybody? For a win? The people we love. And those are the people that are taking care of us. So you can set boundaries, even with a family member that's going through a health issue. Now, dementia, obviously, that's different. That's challenging. They may not even remember who you are. And so we have to take all of those things into consideration. But we also have to look at ourselves and say, okay, why are we putting ourselves in the situation? We love that person, but it doesn't mean that we have to constantly take the verbal assault or the misbehavior. As far as the boss, the career, the job, I was there. I did it for 2 years. And yes, every day I dreaded going to work. I loved what I did. I loved the organization I worked for. But when the new boss came in, it was extremely toxic. And it was a bullying type of relationship. Talk about kicking people when you're down. This person thrived on that. I think she looked for it. So in those situations, we have to, one, remember it's more about the other person. It's not about you. It's more about the other person. And we have to look within and we have to remind ourselves what's true about us. Is what they're saying or what they're perceiving, Is that true? Are we being gaslit, right? Are they using gaslighting techniques, narcissistic techniques to make us feel like we're going completely crazy? If you stay in any bad relationship too long, it's going to take a toll on you. Your health is going to start getting bad. Let's just say it. You're going to want to sleep more because you're probably depressed or sad. You may lose weight, you may gain weight. Just depends on how you, if you're stress eating or if you're stress not eating. There can be some addictive behaviors that start. Coming home and just wanting to numb the day away. How do I know? Because my husband had to have that talk with me before I left the last job, the career. And it was challenging, but it got to the point, and this can be in any relationship, where the other person had me doubting who I could trust, who I could go to, who I could talk to. When you're in a situation like that, the longer you stay, the more damage is done to not them, you. So let's see, we have a comment. I'm still healing from my last toxic boss, but I'm noticing how much I've healed at the same time. It's so crazy to see all the motivating quotes I used to take screenshots of to try to keep up. That is so true. It happens to me all the time. And you know, when I always in Time Hop. Sometimes I love Time Hop and sometimes I really don't like Time Hop because it makes me go through the experience a little bit all over. It reminds me about those days. I used to take screenshot pictures of a song that would come on as I was on my way to work or on my way home from work that would either motivate me or have me in tears. And now those pop up in my Time Hop. We have to take care of ourselves. That's why we're having the 28-day self-love challenge. Because when we're taking better care of ourselves, then we're not going to tolerate the bad behavior because we're not going to be in treating ourselves badly anymore. And therefore we can now turn and start looking and go, okay, can I fix this relationship? Is it worth fixing? Can I fix the relationship? Do I need to get out before it gets even worse? Friends. Do you have friends that just don't text you back? Do you have friends that only call you or text you when they need something, not when they actually, just want to hang out? Again, if you're not getting something from a partnership, if someone else isn't in the relationship relating with you, if they're not fighting for the partnership relationship to continue, then my friends, why are you? And that's why we have to look within. That's why we have to think about ourselves and go, why am I tolerating it? Why is it okay? So those are the things that I help clients do, is look within. Because it all starts with us. That old quote, no one can make you feel a certain way. We all think like, oh yeah, well, they made me feel like I, was stupid, or they made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. You have to allow what they're saying to come in, and you have to accept that feeling, that emotion. And when we're confident and when we're strong, we can push those away like the clouds, and we can be the blue sky. We can observe. We can take a breath and go, wait a minute, that's not true. That's not true. And if it is true, great. Knowledge is power. We can't fix what we don't know is broken. And so it's always good to be very self-aware. in any situation. If you're going to work or you're going to the family reunion or you're going out with your friends and you're the one that's sitting in the back or you're the one that's not speaking up, why? Why? Is it because you don't have anything to say, which is cool? You know, you can be the observer. There are people that are really good at my goodness gracious, observing. And then there's other people that want to be seen. And so they come over top of us. And so we, again, have to be very self-aware. And if you do observe, you can look at the other people and go, and get curious. That's my favorite. Get curious. I wonder what is so bad in their life or how they feel that they have to treat other people like this. What is going on within them? Not because you want to fix it. It's all about being curious and understanding where someone's coming from. But it does not mean to accept it and tolerate it. I once had somebody kind of bullying me, and I had to look at it and go, okay, what is really going on with this person right now? And when I took that step back before I reacted, I was able to understand their perception, and I was able then to respond, speaking to that, to how they were feeling. So I didn't call them out on it. I didn't say, you're acting like a child because you're scared. But I thought, okay, if they're a little child and they're scared, what would they want to hear? What would they want to know? And so I was able to provide that for that person. And then the situation was better. And a lot of times, and I know that we don't really want to hear this, but a lot of times the things that we see in someone else that we don't like, especially when they're mistreating us, a lot of times it's like looking in the mirror, and there's something about that situation that reminds us of us. And that's something else to look at. So I'm not saying that it's your fault when you're in a bad relationship, but when you know it's a bad relationship and you know that the other person is not treating you well, it is your responsibility if you decide to stay. So I had a client one time that every call, every week, would be basically the same story. The same things were happening. Every single week it was the same thing. I could have just put it all on record, and we could have talked about the same thing over and over, week to week. And I finally called her out. And I said, listen, this is not good for either one of you. Because the other person is suffering because you're complaining all the time. And you're suffering because you're unhappy. The other person's unhappy. Sometimes it's better to just cut it and move on before, again, more damage is done. So I'm hoping that this really makes sense, because this is true empowerment. You can love somebody even though they're toxic and in a bad place. You can still love somebody from afar. You can still support them and send them good energy and good vibes and all of that, but it doesn't mean that you have to be there taking the, I don't want to say abuse because we're not talking about abuse, but taking the bad behavior. So let me see what the comments say. Our comfort zone can be so intoxicating. Yes, it's like this warm blanket. You know, when we have dogs, and it's like laying on the couch and you grab that warm blanket, but the warm blanket is kind of stinky because you just gave the dog a bath, but you stay there anyway with the warm blanket. Why? Get up and get a new blanket. I'm not telling you to throw your loved ones away, but I am saying to set your boundaries. Decide, what are you going to What are you going to put up with and what are you not going to put up with? If a friend isn't texting you back, if a friend isn't being there and putting you first, why do you want to be last on their list? There's plenty of people you can be friends with that you'll be first on their list. When you start noticing the good, the other stuff falls away. And when you have a good friendship, that relationship will just kind of go away on its own. You don't have to have a big conversation with the person and tell them all the reasons why that, this happened and that like, you don't have to go through all of that. You do have to have that conversation with yourself though. And there needs to be some forgiveness to yourself that you allowed it to go on and that it was prolonged. So going back to one of the comments about work, there's a lot of healing that takes place when you come out of a toxic or bullying relationship in your career. And here is something, and this is for relationships too. If you don't heal it, if you don't rectify what's inside of you that tolerated it and put up with it, if you don't understand how it happened or why it went on for so long, and I don't mean to, cut it into little itty bitty pieces, but to have a bigger 1,000-foot view of the situation as the observer, then when you run to a new position or you run to a new relationship, guess what you take with you? All of that baggage, all of the feelings and the emotions and the fears. And then you know what happens after that? A pattern. A pattern is then introduced into your life, may have been introduced years ago, but it continues. And now you're bringing in the same, it's a different 4 walls, different building, different company, but it's the same type of boss, or it's the same type of coworker. So getting down into the why is this in my life? Why does this pattern keep happening? This is what you really want to look at so we can break the pattern. And then you can be free. That's when you truly find the freedom. Okay, so comfort zone, so intoxicating, we did that one. The friend thing. It's a strong texting, but she's invaluable to me and shows love and support. Yep. And that's the other piece of this. Because when you know and you love somebody, and there's that unconditional love as a friend, a family member, we're going to we're going to accept their flaws. Just like we would hope somebody would accept our flaws. Doesn't mean we have to like it. It just means that if you're disappointed by somebody, guess what, my friends? You're judging them. You're holding them to your standards. And that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. Because everybody is different. And everybody has their own standards. And just because somebody isn't meeting your standards does not mean that they're bad. So when we're disappointed in somebody, they're always late. Well, maybe they take self-care seriously, and maybe it took a little bit longer. Maybe they got the nudge from the universe that said, don't leave right now. And so they waited 5 extra minutes. You don't know. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But when we judge people, if somebody calls and cancels on you and you had plans, okay, maybe they weren't feeling it. It's not a nice thing to do. But if you know that that person is like that, you choose if you want to stay in the relationship and keep making plans. You can have a plan and you can have a backup plan. There's ways that you can have a healthy relationship with the person, but you have to accept, and I don't even want to call it flaws because that might be just who they are. The key is that it's all the power, all of the Control is within us of how we want to feel. If you're in a bad relationship, figure out a way, make an exit plan, and move on. If you're in a bad job, figure out a way, make an exit plan, move on. If you have family, narrow it down to how much time you're willing to be with them and stick to it. And also build up some strength within you so that you're not absorbing the hurt and the pain. I went to, back in the career, when I was having the biggest issue with my boss, I went and I went to a counselor. And she basically said, just put your armor on. Put on a bunch of armor and just deal with it. And I was so mad. I was so furious because I was like, but this is bad behavior. Like, why is this person being allowed to get away with it? And then I have to put on, armor and walk around all day like that. But you know what? The counselor was right. I needed to become stronger. I needed to not allow those words, the meetings, the hate talk. I needed to not let it permeate me. I had to be in control, and I had to turn around and respond a certain way. And instead, I was reacting from a place of doubt, a place of, I was just very low. And there was a lot of healing that had to be done from that. So I totally get it. So how do we heal our work trauma? Well, I'm glad you asked. One of the things that I did is, well, I didn't. I will tell you, my husband was like, I need you to help me with the project. And it was mind numbing, taking plants, putting them in a root grower and putting them in to the pots. Doesn't take a lot of brain power. It allowed me to start processing things. And so I was out in nature. I was out in the sun, vitamin D, oh my goodness. And I was a bit isolated. There was no one really around. Yes, I felt alone, but I didn't. And then I got to see these things growing, these plants growing. And so there was progress. There was something coming from and growing from what I had done with my hands. Now, not everybody needs to start a nursery, but you might have a hobby, something that will help you feel good. So when we can't feel good about a situation, a relationship, a partnership, whatever it is, go and find something where you can feel good and focus on that. Over the weekend, there was a client and she was complaining. She was in a very, very negative space, just complaining about everything. And I said, stop. And it was over her career. I said, stop looking. Don't even look for a job. Don't work on your resume. Don't do anything for the rest of the weekend. Just go and have some fun. Just go enjoy yourself. Just do whatever. Spend some time with your dog. Spend some time with your boyfriend. Just go. I get a call on Monday. She had 2 job offers because she shifted her perspective. She shifted her energy and how she was feeling and walking into life, waking up in the morning. Let's see. Maybe now you know this about them, so why be upset if every time? Yeah, laugh it off. We had we have family members, and actually my husband and I used to be the family members that were late to everything. And it was to the point where people would start telling us a different time. They would tell us 30 minutes earlier, and then we would show up on time. And so it worked out. And so now we do that with, family members if we want them to be on time. But here's the thing, if you're ebbing and flowing, if you're just like unless it's a wedding and it's going to start at exactly at the right time, or it's work and you have to be there on time and you have to clock in. Otherwise, just be a little bit breezy. Just flow. right? Just flow, because it'll all work out. If you think about it, does nature just happens. Plants grow, trees grow, flowers bloom. They don't run on a clock. We don't have to doubt them. They don't doubt themselves. Do you think a butterfly doubts itself when it goes into the cocoon that it's going to come out and be beautiful? Well, it may not understand the process, but it goes in because it has faith. So, yes, when you allow everything to just fall into place, keep yourself in the right mindset, everything else will work out the way it's supposed to. And you may not understand today why you're in this poor relationship, unhealthy relationship. I certainly didn't understand. I was furious. That was my dream career. I used to walk into work happy. Sometimes I get teary because I love the place so much. And I was furious when it ended. But you know what? If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be here today able to talk and coach you through it. So I had to go through that in order to help other people. And a lot of times there's a reason. Every time there's a reason for everything. So yes, there's always something better on the other side. Yes, and if you shift the way you're looking at your side, you may be already on the perfect side, on the right side. When you don't allow other people to invade your happiness and get into your heart or knock you down, when you don't tolerate it because you know your truth, then you're right where you need to be. And nothing has to be fixed. You just have to be you. And that really is the biggest message of today. So are you a prisoner? Are you a warden, the prison guard? Or are you in a partnership? Ask yourself that question about the different relationships. If you're dreading seeing somebody, you need to take a look at that and ask why. So that was a lot. And I hope you have some things to think about. And please, that's why we're in this private community, is so that you can post questions or comments. We can talk about the lives in a more closed environment. That's why I did this group, is because I wanted us to have that feeling. And it's a safe place. All right. So that's what I want to say. All right. So thank you for being here. Couple reminders: the self-love challenge, 28 days. We're on day 2 today. Day 3 starts tomorrow. We have 90 people in the group, and yet I've only seen 3 people post. Now, I know you all are paying attention. So all it takes is a comment. Done, you could say. If you want to share what you did, great. But it's super easy. All you have to do is pick which block on which day and just do it. Look at it in the morning intuitively and say, I think I'm going to do this one today. All right. But it's never too late to start. This Sunday, there's going to be a podcast, and I'm going to post the information on how to access the podcast, but it is the Caregiver Chronicles. And I am going to be talking a lot about healthcare and being a caregiver and how to take care of yourself during that time. So that way you can show up and be there for your loved ones. Maybe you're in healthcare. Maybe you are the caregiver, the professional caregiver. How to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your patients. So there's a lot of talk in that podcast about all of that. So I would love for you guys to tune in, and I will post the information of how to access it in the group. We're at 90. I would love to see that at 100. So share it with your friends. We all know somebody that needs what's happening in this community. We all do. So make sure that you share it. More the merrier. Love to have everybody here. And I'm going to see you next week. All right. Wednesday, 5:30, Moment of Presence right here, same time. And remember, every day can either be the best or the worst day. It's all up to you. You get to choose. So choose wisely. All right. All right. See you next week. Bye.